Yep, I'm doing it. All right. Hi, it's Sir Ruthkin from Montier, and I'm here with Duke Areus of Sparta from the Kingdom of Atenveldt. He's been king of Atenveldt 4 times, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And this is part of my ducal challenge where I was supposed to fight 50 dukes, but now I'm going to interview them, and it's been super cool so far. And I'm actually really looking forward to this one because he probably doesn't remember it, but he wrote something on Facebook like years ago that like tickled my interest.
If you know it's crap I wrote on Facebook, and I never know what people are going to ask me.
Anyway, so I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, we usually start these with sort of like your origin story. So if you want to go for that, that would be great.
All right. So back in the 90s, I was like a skater and in metal bands, and I did a lot of ring fair stuff. And I was living in Henderson, Nevada, and my little brother was in Phoenix. And he was like, "Hey, man, my girlfriend broke up with me. I need a roommate." I was like, "Cool." And I found this really cool thing, man. It's like the Ren Fair, but you can hit people. And I was like, "What is this? Like, you could actually do stuff besides just stand around and garbage?" Like, yes. So I got out there. I moved out to Phoenix. I was there in like a week. Moved to Phoenix, and my first fighter practice, I know the date. It was June 5th, 1996. It was at Encanto Park, and if you've ever heard stories of Encanto Park back in the day, they aren't exaggerations. This is a fighter practice in June, so it was about 105 degrees outside, and there were 75 guys on the field fighting, and that was an average Wednesday night. And I was like, sign me up. That was it, and I was hooked. And I don't think I missed a fighter practice from that point on until I was like well into knighthood. I never missed a Wednesday night if I can at all help it. I was.
So, how long did it take you to get your armor together?
Me and my brother, and we met this guy, like it was instantly, we got swooped in like that night by this household. It's kind of a fringy household. They're not really around anymore. I have a couple of friends who were still around from those times. We went and bought we all went and bought pickle barrels. $5. They were $5, and they were in the back of the New Times. Some guy was selling pickle barrels. We went and bought $5 pickle barrels, and one barrel would make 2 sets of armor. And that was our first, and it was pickle barrels. We used copper rivets, and we used pennies for washers when we ran out of pennies. And we all went over to this guy's house, and we made a deal with him, and we made a bunch of barrel helmets, the old school. They're like basically the ones that were inside the old fighter's handbook, the old SCF fighter's handbook. It was the barrel helms with the flat top. We made like 5 of those, and yeah, that was our first armor. It was just duct taping ourselves in big pickle barrels. Luckily, we had black barrels though, so it was cool.
So, did your brother continue to play with you?
So my brother's a musician, and I was a musician at the time, and he's a guitar player. And one night he was fighting. He loved to fight with gauntleted weapons. And one night he got smacked on his fingers, and like these 2 fingers turned purple. And he's all, "Nope, done. If I can't play guitar, I will die." Like, and he's still like this day, and it's 25 years later, he's still exactly. He's like, "Nope, can't. I'd love to, but I don't want to smash my fingers because if I can't play guitar, I'm dead." So I kept on going, and he drifted off. But the rest of my family is all pretty much.
Oh, that's cool. Did you start out sword and shield, or were you into great weapons as well?
The very first weapon style I wanted to fight, I played a lot of D&D. I read a lot of books. The very first weapon style I wanted to fight was 2 swords. And I learned very, very quickly that leg shots hurt really bad and that I didn't understand how to block that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use the shield for a while. And then I've never really switched off from a shield. I've used everything, but it's still always been my primary.
Okay. What type of shield did you pick up?
Heater. Standard Atenveldt 24 by 36 aluminum heater. And I used that. I used like the same style of shield for a long time. Yeah. I don't think I stopped. I won all my crowns with that shield, and then I only switched up to like a center grip full time. I always had shields that I played with, but I never really switched to a center grip full time until about 2 or 3 years ago. That's what I did.
And who were your mentors when you first started?
I had so I was Casca's squire, and that in itself is walking in the presence of a freaking demigod. Casca is the epitome of everything to me. But I never learned how to fight from Casca because Matt's like 6'3" and 285 pounds of solid muscle. All I knew how to fight from Casca was how to run backwards, throw flat snaps at big guy, and hope he doesn't hit me. And when he makes contact, you just go, good, 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 good. And he goes, oh. So, my mentors, I learned from every night. I belt hunted. I wouldn't do it. I'd go to fighter practice. I was the first guy on the field in armor, and I would just go find anything with white around its waist and fight it. And I would study those guys and learn. I would try to pick little nitpick out of every little person's style and shove them all into mine. So I think pretty much the chivalry of Atenveldt at that time was my mentors. But if there was one, it's Casca. Absolutely.
So what kind of things did Casca teach you about being a knight?
The one virtue, I mean, Casca taught me a lot about it. There's one like of the virtues that Casca taught me about. It was probably, and it's the one that I still don't know, that I still don't really do well at all. I admit it, it's my lowest of the virtues, and it's humility. And not in the way that most people think, like I'm not a braggart or anything. But Casca is the most humble person in the world. I mean, I have never met anybody who is so genuine with his love and his affection and teaching anybody, and he will help anybody. He's the guy who will get out of bed at 3 a.m. for anybody who has his phone. Like he's Casca, and it's really hard to explain if you don't really know Casca. If you do Casca, he taught me a lot of humility. He taught me how to at no point are you better than anybody else. Just because you might be good at hitting people with sticks, doesn't mean that you're better than them in any way, shape, or form. It just means that you're good at that one thing. Everybody has their talents. Everybody has things that they're good at. So never think that you're better than anybody else. Being Casca Squire, like we'd go to wars. I remember the first Australia war I camped with Casca when he was my knight. We got our tent set up, and then it was, all right, let's go. And we spent the next 2 days walking around site. Anybody who we saw swinging a hammer, hey, you need some help? We just went around site setting up tents. And it wasn't a thing that Casca was doing for a gist. That's just what Casca does. He's like, he can't sit if other people need help. And he kind of instilled that into me because I have a very lazy, self-serving side that sometimes takes over. And I'll be like, I don't want to. And then you see Casca and you're like, I guess we got to. Come on, let's go be like him.
So did you ask him to be his squire, or did he ask you?
Okay, here we go. I was Casca's squire before Casca was a knight.
Okay.
I was Casca's man-at-arms when he was still a squire. Duke Arthur had won his first reign. Arthur O'Flaherty had won his first reign. It was his coronation and Queen's Champion tournament. And Casca walked through this Queen's Champion tournament, but he did it in such a way that was just like the gladiators of old, where are you not entertained? And it was just like this amazing thing. And I was like, and I've only talked to him a couple of times ever. And I was like, man, can you teach me how to do that? And he goes, yeah, man, tell you what, I'll make you my man-at-arms, bro. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I was Casca's man-at-arms, and then Casca got knighted, and then I became his squire. And but yeah, I asked him straight out. I was like, please God, pick me. show me the way.
And how long were you squire to him before you got knighted?
3 years.
3 years.
Wait, yeah, about 3 years. Yeah, because I got squire to him at the end of '97. I was knighted or at the end of '98. That was '01. Yeah, so about 3 years.
And did you know that knighthood was your goal, or was it just, to be badass like Casca?
Knighthood was a goal, and it was a combination of both. I wanted to get knighted for different reasons than a lot of other people did. My so here's the easiest way to break down to it. We always had these melee practices at Wednesday night practice. Even in the summer, we do melees, huge melees. And I was pretty good at being a commander. I was really good. But the fact of the matter is, nobody would listen to a squire or a non-belt, just some newbie shouting orders in the middle of a battle. And then I realized, I was like, hey, man, they're all listening to the white belt. Maybe I need to get one of those and they'll finally listen to me on the battlefield. So then I decided I wanted to be a knight because I wanted to be able to lead armies and stuff and have people actually listen to me. And it wasn't even like I want the power so you can listen to me. It was more like maybe they'll actually listen to what I have to say instead of, and it's the way it's gotten a lot better. I mean, we listen to people a lot better now, but this is, mid '90s, and there was quite a lot of the, if you don't have a belt, I don't want to hear from you. Go away. Be silent, squire. Squire should speak when spoken to.
The belt does give you a sense of legitimacy that not having a belt doesn't. It's just kind of the way it is.
Then also subsequently, I realized that being in command was really cool. And then I started seeing all my friends who would win crown and they'd be king at Estrella. And I was like, man, I want my own army at Estrella. And I never got to be captain general like before this. So I was like, well, I just guess I'll just win crown so I can have my own army at Estrella. And that's why I initially trained for crown. I never wanted to be king. Never gave a crap about it. I always just wanted to have my own army at Estrella.
So do you prefer melee over tournament then?
Yep, absolutely.
Do you run a different weapon system in melee?
Sword and shield. I know my you will do, and I'm pretty sure he's probably watching. So I think you're doing an interview with Morgan of the Oaks. So Morgan Joel was my squire, and I know my job as a shieldman in war. A lot of people I can run off and do boat rides and get people to chase me around, and that's always really fun. But I know my job as a shieldman is assists. So my entire thing was I would get up on the line and I would just talk smack. And I would just be that jerk on the line who all the spearmen would go, shoot that guy. And I'd be like, come on, it's right here. It's right here. Oh, you didn't get it. And then I go, Joel, and he go, pop, and he'd pop him. And so my squire would kill like 25 guys in a melee, and I got all assists. I would just call it, say I got those 25 also because I got assists, because that was my job. I know my job is to be a distraction and screw with people so the artillery can fire. That's
nice. So in addition to Wednesday practice, what else did you do to train while you were still a squire?
I went to Wednesday, and I think I've mentioned this before to people before, but people don't want to do what I do, and I do not recommend what I did. But I would go to Wednesday, Sunday. We go down to Tuesday night in Tucson at least once a month, maybe every couple of months when I could get the gas money to get down to Tucson and go. If I was a broke mall worker back then, I had no money. I would, and then I would do Pell practice at Casca's house on Monday nights. So it was pretty much Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Wednesday, Sunday every week. And that was not even an exception. It was every single week I was at Casca's house. And at Wednesday night, and I would call in sick to work if they scheduled me that night, or I'd be like, no, I'm not working. SCA fighting was my life, period. It was my blood. It was my soul. And I pretty much, I worked so that I could pay the rent so I could have somewhere to sleep in between fighter practices. That was my life. I don't really know any other way to put it other than that.
No, I love hearing how passionate so many successful fighters are. That's super cool.
But at the same time, I could have a PhD instead of a belt, and actually live,
But would your life have been filled with joy and passion? I don't know.
No, I wouldn't have the hundreds of friends and family that I have. My family. I mean, my family is almost all my family actually plays or knows, at least like supports it and knows about it. My sister's a Pelican. My other sister was autocrat of Atenveldt for years and has run all kinds of stuff. My nephew's a knight. It's one of those things. They all support me, but I have the family that I have in the SCA is literally just as important as they are. I would dive in front of a truck for any of them, literally.
Did you introduce your family to the SCA?
Yep. I think my sisters, their first event was by coronation. And I'm pretty sure my nephew's, I'm pretty sure, was my first coronation. And then their first like actual event besides that was the Australia War when I was king. And then I don't think they'd missed one after that. Since that point, they were always there.
That's cool. That's super cool. So when you got knighted, were you put on vigil? Was it a surprise?
As I don't know if you know Sir Lee, he lives up there. He doesn't really, I'm not sure if he plays very much. Dustin was one of my best friends. We always hung out when we were squires, and he always said that I'm unwashed because my knighting, I was Queen's champion at Australia, and we'd fought all day in the old battle pit. I was trying to walk back up, and the king goes, "Hey man, see that guy over there, and that guy over there, and that guy over there? Go throw some on him. Go give him some stick." All right. And I went back, fought them, and I finally got back to camp, and I'm dragging in. Everybody's all dressed and clean, and I'm all. I go, "Yo, man, what if the king?" I'm all, "Hey, boss, can I go shower?" Or he's all, "No, man, you look hot in your armor, man. Let's go to court. Just put your good boots on, though. Put your good boots on." I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm dead tired. I've been fighting literally all day, and I get to court, and we go through Grand Court of Estrella, and the king goes, the Carol goes, "Your Majesty, there's one more piece of business you had." And he goes, "Casca, don't you have some business?" And Casca looks at me and he points behind the throne and he goes, "Boy, you get your ass out here." And I'm like, and I walk around the throne, and the king, it was Jono was king, and Jono goes, "Take your glasses off." I'm all, "You're going to punch me, aren't you?" And he goes, "Yes." I'm like, and that's how I got that. And I remember kneeling down, and I remember a lot of, how that fuzz of getting your knighthood, but I remember certain things like Oscar going, "I just said ass in court." I'm pretty sure nobody hears Oscar. But yeah, that was my knighting. I was unwashed. I was just offered on the spot and done. And I'm only one of my squires, Valora, had a vigil, but none of the rest of my squires have had vigils.
So did any of your people get a heads up? Were they there for it?
Oh yeah, well, Costco was my people. My wife at the time was there. All my people were there. It was grand. Okay. It was Grand Court of Estrella, so pretty much everybody's there except for a couple of people. A couple of my friends who were, I'm not going to court, those guys. But for the most part, they were all there.
That's cool. Engineer boots. Kaz says your good boots are engineer boots. Anyway.
Who said that?
Kaz.
Oh yeah, it was totally my engineer. Actually, no, it wasn't engineer boots. It was German tank officer boots that Art had given me. Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was like, "Squire, you need good boots." I was like, and they were like a size too small for me, but I was so proud of them because 2001, nobody had footwear in the SC, and there's like 12 of us.
Right, like back then, that was nice shoes.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. So how long after? Well, actually, let's talk about your knighting again. Did you get any like really cool regalia, like anything with like good lineage?
I got a chain. The chain that was my knighting chain was given to me and I will suck and I can't remember the entire history, but there's the chain that was given to me was uh given to me by sorcerer Lothar gave me that chain actually, yes. But there were like 6 other people who had been knighted with this chain, and then um Sir Nud was knighted with this chain, and then all of my squires have been knighted with that chain. And then the belt that Casca was knighted with, I was knighted with, and all of my squires have been knighted with that belt also. But my chain, but also, so that chain went out. They did that thing. They did, and I'd never seen this before. They did a thing where they handed the chain off, and it got passed around to all the knights while they were doing all the oaths and stuff. And when it got back to me, there were 13 chains.
Oh.
And so I looked like Mr. T. It was really easy. It was all, and it was on my muscle breastplate, so it was all clattering every time I moved. It was.
That's super cool. Except that you don't know who the chains came from.
No, because I was like looking at the herald and all shocked, and then they came back around, and Jono grabs the chains and he like spreads them out. He goes and puts them on me. I'm like, what the hell just happened? So everybody had said, I know a couple of them. Like I know Sir Seth had given me a chain. I know Sir Mikolaj had given me a chain. Casca gave me a chain. Baylor gave me a chain. There's a bunch of them, but I don't know exactly all of the chains that got given to me. But and since then, what I have done, I don't have any of those chains anymore because I passed every time somebody got knighted. That was a chain that I gave them, and I told them about it. You know, so so at least 12 people got my other chains.
I love that. I love starting traditions like that. That's super cool. So after you got knighted, when did you decide that you wanted to be like the leader of the war at Estrella and you're going to go for crown?
Always. It was before I got knighted. It was before I got knighted, but it's that rush. I get a huge adrenaline rush off melee combat, but I always knew that I just wanted my own army. I never cared about being king. I mean, I did the job and I would, I did it to the best of my ability, but my focal point was can't wait for war. So the one reign I had that was a summer reign, it was weird going to Pinzik and having my own army, but I mean, I had a lot of people go and it was cool, but it wasn't the same. It's not the same as going. It's a thing about being king of your own war at Estrella. It used to be a really, really, I'm king of Estrella.
Yeah. Okay. So did you final in crown before you won your first crown?
Twice. The 2 preceding crowns. So Jack, Duke Jonathan von Trotha, his first crown or his second crown that he won, because Jack was one of the only people to win back to back. So he won Estrella reign, and then he won the next Estrella reign. And I was like, there's not a lot of guys who did that. Now Morgan's done it a couple times, I think. But so me and Craven final with Jack in his second crown that he won. And then the very next crown, I finaled with Craven and Dietrich. And then Craven won that one. And then the one I won, I finaled with Dietrich. So it was like this, it's just like stack on it. Really cool.
So when you say that the 3 of you finaled, sometimes is there like a 3-way fight off?
Yep, there were 3. It was all of those were 3-way. Well, except for mine, they were 3-way because none of us had losses.
Okay.
It was basically we all went into the final round. None of us had a loss, so we fought. And it was fought. We fought best first person to two wins. So best out of 3, first person to 2.
Cool. Do you have a tourney day ritual?
Yeah. There's a rule that a lot of people know. I mean, a lot of people. I know people that like I don't even really know well who apparently know the rule, and that's the second I arrive on site. Actually, when I got in the truck on the way to site, the second I arrive on site, don't expect me to speak to you. Like, and I had squires who were my squires were kind of like can we help you? What do you want? No, he's busy. And it was just me with my headphones on, and I would walk around, and I have the ritual I have during crown itself, or not during crown, but that morning is I go out and I walk the Eric. I will walk the tourney field back and forth. I will look for every hole. I will measure how many steps it takes me to run backwards before I hit the ropes from the center line and from like quarter points. It's a weird little math thing in my head that I just go and test everything out, and then I'm fine, and I go and sit and listen to music and get in my groove.
Is that the way that you get yourself mentally to where you need to be?
Yeah.
How did you figure that out for yourself?
I'm a nice guy, and I know people give me the thing that I'm not, but I really am. I'm like the nice guy. Like, if you hang out with me, I'm like hey, what's up? Like this is my normal face. Just, what's up? Like rosy cheeks, nice. That's the whiskey, by the way. Rosy cheeks, by the way. But so I learned from Duke Trelawn, and before I actually, like in the first crown I was finaling in, from that point on, Trelawn would send me text messages, and he would just call, but it was actually before text, really. He would call me. And I would just get this phone call. I'd be driving, and my phone would ring, and I go, hello? And he'd go, hey, man, remember, the only thing that's saving their life is the fact that you're using a stick and not a sword. You're not there to play with them. You're not there. They're not your buddies. You're there to kill them. Got it? And I go, yeah, Jay. And he'd hang up the phone. I'd be like, and it was like psychological torture, you know? So I finally realized that I had to be the mean guy in order to win crown. And it would not so much the mean guy, just more so my focus is, I don't have any opponents. I have things that are standing in the way from me winning. That's already mine. These people are trying to take it from me and line them up so I can just put them down. And I have no friends. I have no buddies. After crown, I have buddies. But today, they're all guys trying to take what is already mine, and I have to go make sure that they know that. And I have to get myself in that mode. And I've kind of backed out. That was the mode I used to really get into. And I've really backed off on that a lot, because if you do that so much, it puts you in a negative space. And it puts you into a space where you're just like, where you actually start to feel that, even though it's just some crap you're telling yourself, you actually start to feel it. And I kind of had to I did a really big mental check of myself a few years ago, where I kind of started shedding all of the things that made the asshole part of me and not the cool part of me come out. And I try to, like, he's still in there, but I had control over him instead of just being like, letting him just run wild and do whatever the hell he wants to. That's my alternate personality. His name's Phelan.
So tell me the name change story, the Phelan to Areus.
That actually goes all the way back to there are a lot of floating stories, so now I'll put all the rumor makers. That goes all the way back to my very first SCA, like that very first night, June 5th, 1996, because I wanted to be Greek then. And I was told, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You absolutely cannot do that. Be Irish. But I don't want to be Irish. Well, I guess I'm Irish. And I actually tried to switch from being Irish to being Chinese for a while. I was going to be Chinese when Lee and Brian the Pious and my friend Jimmy, they were all Chinese. And it was the three Chinese guys and the Irish guy, and we were always together with this foursome of doom that ran around doing dumb things. But I tried to be Chinese, and I just got not attacked, but like it was like an intervention where like people were like, no, you can't do that. Stay being Irish. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just be Irish then. So I was Irish for a very long time. And then one day, I'd gone through all four of my reigns, and I got to a point in the SCA when it was kind of low, where I was like, I didn't give a crap, and I didn't really. I would go to the big. I called them the big five: Crown, Coronation, Estrella, and that was it. I didn't care about going to anything else. And me and my ex-wife, I was like, you know what? I want to do something different. I don't want to be Phelan anymore. I want to be something different. I want to like build new armor and make new garbage. Just be I want to re-roll my character.
There you go.
So I re-rolled my character. And I changed everything.
Originally.
Huh?
It's what you wanted originally.
It's what I wanted to do originally. I was never the, and I know a lot of people are in it. I am not a geek on geek hate crime. Whatever people's nerd thing is, I dig it. Some dudes are really into like the studying the period knights and stuff like that. I was always like Clash of the Titans, Excalibur. I wanted to be like shiny and fighting gods and monsters. You know, I didn't really so much care about, you know, proper tournament style. I wanted to just be jump off things and, you know, be Perseus. You know, I didn't want to be just a dude walking around in a medieval field. So in a way, that's kind of what brought it on.
All right. That's cool. I don't understand why people try to talk people out of being early period, because there really isn't a start date.
That's my pet peeve. That's my one. I have gotten to a very mellow point where I leave people alone when they talk about FCA stuff. I'm like, that's cool, you know, if you want to do that, that's cool. But people go, the period is 600, and I lose it. I just lose it. I'm like, no, there is no start date. Stop trying to invalidate me. Leave me alone. I'm not doing anything to you.
Right. And what does it hurt you if I want to be Greek or Scythian?
I'm actually going back. I'm doing deep research because I'm studying the dawn and history of all this stuff we do, because that's where it all started. So,
what role does your consort have on tourney day for you?
My consorts generally know, like, it was a thing where, like, in the morning before we get in the truck to go over to the site, they give me a kiss on the cheek and go, okay, see you afterwards, because they knew that was it. And as long as they're just like show up as long as I turn around on the field and salute and they're somewhere around, I don't care. I don't need people to bring me stuff or take care of me or like watch the field. I just need you to be like someone for me to be able to salute there, and someone like a focal point so I can just turn and look at you and go, cool, you're there. And after that, I don't need a lot from them. Not to devalue anything that good concerts, that's badass concerts, it's just amazing stuff. It's just I'm low maintenance. I don't really need that. And I'll kind of like, be alone. I'm good. You want? No, go. Just headphones. Go away. So, but that's the gist of what, you know, I just need a consort to make sure have that focal point, and it's to get into this, the quasi, I don't know, like not spiritual, but the philosophical aspect. It does temper me for a little bit, because there's sometimes when I walked in a crown or I walk into a tournament and I'm like, I'm just gonna wreck this guy. And it's you know, because there's always, we talk about how everybody, there's always that dude. There's always that guy, and you get to that point where you're like, all right, I'm gonna put this guy down. And then you turn and you look to your consort and you go, put this guy down, following all the rules and in the most chivalrous way possible. And I'm going to show him the error of his ways in a very manner, instead of sup, because it keeps me, consorts keep me from becoming a thug. That's literally.
How do you temper your aggression in that kind of a situation? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got a phrase from Duke Eric a long time ago, and it was Donnie never got mad when somebody would blow a shot off or something like that. He would smile, because you had just given him the gift of the body, so he can do anything he wants to at that point. And so that's how I just go, cool, because I know, and that's the thing, is like, I don't like to get into calibration too. Well, you know, I don't care. There are guys that I've met who are too good to be thick, and there are guys who are just, you know, that's just the natural way they are, and you got to go, hey, man, that was good. And they go, oh, okay. And there's people who switch that on when it means something. And I know that I can hit them again. I'm not one of those, oh, I wasted my only shot. Now I'll never hit you again. I just go, okay, I'm just going to hit you right there again and just keep hitting you there again. There we go. And that's how I stay mellow. And I realize, because of it's also the other factor that I realize now that I'm older, very much older, I realize that while there is the inclination for humans to do things in order to win things, people also just screw up and don't. I've been nuked. I've been blasted. And then like, hey, how was that? Oh yeah, you hit me. I just realized that. Like it happens. And so you have to give people the benefit of the doubt, and you got to see, like, you pop them, they go, no. Okay. Pop them and they go, no. They go, oh, okay. Now I know where this is going. If once is a mistake, twice, maybe has some intent.
Benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
Benefit of the doubt.
So what was different when you won your first crown from the couple that you I'm going to call it Silver Rose because that's what it is here, but that you finaled in and didn't win? What felt different for you? If you remember.
Like, oh, so you're talking about the crown, like the first one I won and the first one I didn't win after that? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that too. That would
kind
be
of fun. Like that. Is that what? Humility. Got to train. The first time you win a crown, and you're like, I'm hot shit. And then you walk in the next round and you go, man.
Oh.
But I think actually, quite honestly, the first two crowns I won, the second one was the first crown. The second crown I won was the first crown I won that I was I actually intended to win it. I was like, I'm just going to go win this tournament. I knew I was going to win it. So that was the second one I actually cared about winning after my first reign. And then I remember the next one that I went and fought in, because it was the very next fall crown, and I fought Duke Edward, and we had some epic battles back in the day. And so the second crown final fight with Duke Edward, you could find videos of it somewhere. It was 34 minutes, and that was 34 minutes of swinging. And then so we put each other in the dirt. Me and Ed rocked each other. It was pretty brutal. And in the rain, in the mud, it was an epic, like, it was a fight of the gods. And then the next one, I was like, I'm gonna smoke it. You know what Ed did? Ed trained, because I beat him in that crown, and he put me down. I mean, I gave him a good one, but Ed wanted it more, and he trained, and he wanted it more, and I'm pretty sure this is where you're getting to. He trained and he wanted it more, but it taught me a little humility, that I'm not a badass and I'm not a god, and that dude who wants it more, or the person who wants it more, is the one who's going to do it. Period.
What, besides leading the army at Estrella, what was your favorite thing about being crowned?
When you're a peer, it's kind of one of those things I tell new peers. It's my only advice I give individuals for new peers, is never forget what it is to want. Because people forget what it is to want. You forget about the little awards. You forget about, like, you're like, yeah, and you get awards, and you get awards after you're a peer, and you're like, thanks for this thing. Giving that AOA to the person who's been playing for like 6 years and has been unrecognized, and they burst out into tears and grab hold of you and like just sob, and that is the AOAs are the best freaking award to give. I've given all the awards. AOAs are the best award to give, because people are just, it's their first. It's their record. They feel like they're like, I'm part of the crew now. It's kind of like their acceptance award. Their acceptance letter. And just giving that and watching somebody break down into tears and just grab a hold of you and cry and just go thank you, and then having later on 10 years later, and you don't remember them because you give out so many. I mean, you remember the person, but you don't really remember so much the awards. You give out so many. And then like 10 years later, somebody goes, and you were my first king and you gave me my AOA. And you're like, huh. Never thought of myself as being like first king. I'm just a dude who fought some people with sticks, and I hit some guys with sticks good a couple times, and I got to be king. And then you realize that it actually means something to other people. That's the coolest thing, is that it actually means something, and not in using it for the not using it for your own power, but understanding that it means something for other people, and to use that to help them it's the coolest thing. That's the cool part.
I love that explanation of forgetting what it's like to want, because I think a lot of people that have been playing a long time, we get to that point and we just, it's like,
I look back and I remember making jokes, and they were actually like passive aggressive jokes, because you kind of do that every once in a while. I remember making passive aggressive jokes when I was a young squire about how I'd probably get knighted before I got my AOA. And there was dudes who I brought into the SCA who got their AOA, and I didn't get it. And interestingly, I got my AOA within a year and a half of me getting knighted. Like, it was that close. Like, I'm like, I'm gonna get knighted before I get my AOA. Nobody even cares about me in this kingdom. And I got it, and I was like, super jazzed because I got my AOA. And that's that forgetting what it is to want. Like, because some people just get on like, oh, cool, you got your AOA. No, that's actually a thing. It's a thing. And while I think it's a thing, I also think that everybody should have. I think that if I have that feeling, that not feeling, but my opinion is that if you've been in the SCA for a year and you actually play and you enjoy it, you should get an AOA. Period. Done. The end. It should almost be automatic. But it's a topic for another time.
Oh yeah, it's hard when the kingdom is has a big populace and people don't write in the recommendation, and how are you supposed to know, right? Like,
oh yeah, because I've had the recommendations where you get them when you're king, and you're like, this person's been playing for 15 years and doesn't have it. You're like, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
And you fix it, but there are so many that slip through the woodworks, and it does have a lot to do with like recommendations and like talking to people about it. It's one of those things. It's not even who you know, it's who you know that talks to the right people.
Right. And getting over the fact that, it's not nepotism to, recommend your friends for something that they've earned.
Because your friends are the ones who know what you've done.
Right. So get over that, people. All right. So you reigned 4 times.
Yes.
So what was your motivation to keep reigning after you were made a duke?
Okay, Duke. So my first reign was with Countess Mariana. Still one of my best friends. We were together at the time. She was my first queen. My second queen was Countess Elzbieta, or Duchess Elzbieta now. Craven had fought for Mary Rose and won. And Mary Rose is one of our friends, one of Craven's friends, who went for Mary Rose. Craven was dating Elzbieta at the time. And so I was like, hey. And so Elzbieta was the queen, was the girlfriend of the king, and was a countess when the king got his duchy. And so I was like, hey, Ray, you want to get our duchies? And she's like, yeah, let's get our duchies. So I fought for Elzbieta, and we got our duchies.
Cool.
After that, a lot of it was wanting to make my now ex-wife queen and then make her a duchess. But never mistake the fact that it was literally so I could have my own army to stray out. That is my motivation. I am a shallow person. That is my motivation.
Well, I don't think that's shallow. I think if that's your passion, and well,
a shallow pool. How's that? I'm an easy person. I wanted my own army in Estrella. And so last year and the year before last, which both years I've gotten plagued with rain, maybe another year it'll work. Morgan let me be captain general, and he was like, why did you be captain general before? I'm like, I don't know. Nobody ever asked me. And he's like, cool. So I've been captain general for the last 2 years of Atenveldt. And my new thing that I tell people is like, they're like, you fighting in Crown? I'm like, eh. They're like, well, why not? I'm like, because Morgan already gave me an army. Why do I have to spend $10,000 on garb and travel when Morgan gave me an army? I'm like, I'm getting out cheap here. All I got to do is show up and just do my thing. Like go to court or like dress up fancy and be on all the time, you know?
That's funny. So you've had some pretty successful squires. How many squires have you had?
Let me count. I have 2 squires who are dead, no longer with us. They both passed away like early 2000s. I have a couple squires who gave their belts back and stopped playing. Of the squires I have Duke Morgan, Sir Valora, Sir Nikita, and Sir Matthias, Matty. And I graduated all my squires. I'm happy. I've got an empty nest right now. I don't really have any squires anymore. I have some squires. No, that's not fair. I have some squires who don't play anymore. And when they've asked me to like when they've asked me if they should give their belt back, I'm like, no. Are you still going to show up? You know, if you show up to Australia, you can be my squire. That's cool. I'm not going to take your belt back because you're not, you know, because you can't do this right now or because you can't fight anymore because, you know, pain or something's wrong with you. I'm not going to go, you can't be my squire anymore. If you don't want to be, that's cool. Or if you do something dumb, then you can't be my squire anymore. But other than that, you know, I have a couple that still hang out and I love them and they show up. But I've had some pretty successful squires. I got one that's a duke and I've got one that's a pelican and a knight and 2 more knights. And so it makes me happy.
Yeah. How did you balance training them with going for your own goals?
That was easy because, well, okay, it's not easy. I don't teach well, and it is one of my biggest flaws. I fully admit it. I don't teach well. I don't go, okay, so, and I can't sit around and talk stick like guys will be like, oh, and I don't. I'm a kinetic learner. I'm a very like physical learner. If you show me how to do something once, I will do it. And so it was really easy to train my knights because my squires, train my knights. I was always going to practice and they were always in the truck with me. And half the time my squires lived with me. They were roommates of mine. So it was all, let's go practice. And we were in the truck doing practice and get home from work. We go do pell work or, you know, so it's also because all my squires were all my best friends. They were all like some of my greatest friends. So we were always together, always. So what I was doing, they were doing. And if I was training, they were training. And it's cool having a bunch of pells that I could hit. And then the pells start being able to hit you back. And then they get scarier and scarier. It must be what it's like to be able to create artificial intelligence when you teach a squire how to beat the crap out of you. Because you don't want to get hit by a Valora. That sucks.
Yeah,
I would have said Nikita, but you know,
she's got such a beautiful leg wrap. She really does.
Yeah. If you're a guy, don't step back with your left leg when Steph throws her leg shot because
we all know what's happening.
We have a good name for her. You know, there's a picture of on her knighting scroll is one of my friends on his knees holding his crotch because you know she busted his cup.
Nice.
And did other things. But
anyway. Okay. So do you have things that you would like to do in the SCA that you haven't done yet?
No, there's nothing I haven't done yet that I want to do. It's just getting better at the things I do. I want to get way better at the things I do. And currently it's kind of hard. I'm one of those ADD deadline people that I'm like, oh, Australia's next week. I'm going to build an entirely new suit of armor and all new guard because I have to have a deadline and I have to be crazy. I can't work under mellow conditions. It's just one of those things. So I during this current crap we're going through, I kind of I'm kind of in a I look out the window at my shop and I'm all I don't wanna. I could build there's no event. I could build that later, you know. But I want to get better at making things. I want Um, honestly, I also just want to mellow out and have more fun because I was so focused for so long on just being on perfection. And you never achieve the perfection, but you get focused on the perfection and then you don't achieve it and you kind of have this emptiness and then you miss out on all the cool shit that everybody else is doing, just having fun, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird balance to always try to do better and know that you never are going to. Not very satisfying. Okay, so when I was looking at your OP entry, you also do a ton of service. Like well, you do. I mean, you're going to be Mineko and
Zipser, yeah.
Mineko
and Zipser. He's
it doesn't look like it's
Zipser.
spelled. Anyway, you're going to be their steward, right? Or whatever you guys call it down there.
Yeah, well, I think it's Chatelaine, but I'm going to be, I don't know if like Major Domo. I came up with some.
Major Domo.
I was trying to find the most audacious name for myself. I was like, the Major Domo. I don't know, but yeah, I'm going to do that. My service came a lot from Casca, just teaching me how to work. And one of the things we did most of the time was Estrella. So I was on the Estrella staff for years. And then I don't think there's been a year in the last probably 15 that I haven't been on site on the Friday before war starts. Like I'm always there doing it. I've been Estrella main. I've been site a couple of probably 3 or 4 times. My second reign as king, I was also deputy site on a crowd of Estrella while I was king of Estrella. And that was rather interesting because I remember walking into a camp. There was like 6 other dukes sitting in camp. And they called me on the radio. I drove my golf cart to the radio and I walked in and they grabbed my golf cart keys and my radio. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, you're the king. You shouldn't be working. I'm like, am I making you guys feel guilty or what? Is it because you want to be lazy, Your Grace, and the king's making you look like crap? Like, shut up. All right, give me my golf cart keys. That's an order. Yes, Your Majesty. Now, let me go work. I got things to do. And it's mainly just because I get bored. If there's not fighting, I get bored. I get really bored because I'm not a huge drinker partier. I mean, I like to drink and party, but it's never really my focus. So like, if I'm not fighting, I'm usually just waiting until, Friday happens at Australia and I can fight.
So the checky that everyone wears down there, is that like your household kind of thing?
It is my household, but not my household. It's a Brotherhood of the Bingle.
Okay.
It's an Outlands household. Started by Duke Jax. Aren't you going to be talking to Jax?
I am going to be talking to Jax.
Jax is my boy. Started by Duke Jax. And there were a couple. I think there were 2 Atenveldt Bingles before I joined. Duchess of Shell and Count Jono. They were Bingles. But I remember what it was I went to a Grand Outlandish, and it was my second reign, and it was Duke Boleslav's first reign. And we hadn't even met. And then we met that war and we just went and we clicked. I was like, I want to be Brotherhood. And he's like, sweet, let's get you into the Brotherhood. And so I joined this group, this household, this I can't describe the Brotherhood. It's a different world altogether, but they're just amazing people. I mean, I think we added up the reigns of Brotherhood in the Outlands, and it was like something like 3/4 of all the reigns in the Outlands have been Brotherhood, or some wacky, amazing number. And so I joined the Brotherhood, and then it slowly started taking over in Atenveldt. A lot of people, I remember people started calling it the Checky herpes. It was one of the things. But yeah, people were like, "Oh, so people are wearing your Checky?" I'm like, "I'm not Checky. I'm Brotherhood. I just wear the Checky because that's what I am." But it's an Outlands household that we all belong to.
That's cool. So Merrick says you're artistic too. What kind of art do you do?
Armor. I make armor, but I don't make. So if you've ever seen Valora's greaves, Nikita's
Yes,
greaves,
they're
Mineko's
beautiful.
greaves, those greaves are my design. I was the first pair of those came out of my garage, and I cobbled them together and I made them. And I took them over to Costa's shop when I was working at a shop at the time. I'm like, we should make these, and he's like, those are easy. We should make those, and we started mass producing them and selling them. And then I kind of just got tired of making greaves. I'm a one-off guy. I make something once and people will go, hey, can you make me that? No. I make something once and I completely bored with it because I want to learn how to make the thing. And then once I do it, I go, I can do that. We'll do it again. I don't want to. I want to make something new. I don't want to make the same old thing.
Artist and not production.
Artist, not production, or engineer, not production. I want to like design something new and cool, and then be like, all right, because I in and my armor construction and the things I make are usually. I don't like to read instructions, and I don't like to look at people how-to videos or how people do stuff. I usually just go find a picture and go, okay, I'm gonna do it like that, and then I just do it. I don't, and I fail a lot. I fail all the time. Some things I make that's cool. So one of the things that I'm doing though, and is I'm trying to achieve everything on me being made by me.
Oh, cool.
So, and I'm pretty much there with the exception of footwear, and I've made a bunch of footwear, but like I want to make fighting shoes that work for me. And after that, I'll be pretty much there. So I want to make it so, so I'm head to toe, all of my garb, all of my armor, every single piece is made by me.
Cool. So I'm going to ask you like one philosophical question, then we'll go to your sword. But what do you think the Order of Chivalry does well, and what do you think we could do better?
We do well, we do better. I think we do well in our guidance, and not our guidance, in how we try to guide people in the advice that we give, and how we guide people and go, you should do this, and this is the way we do really well as a collective in trying to do the right thing at all times. The one thing we could do better is actually do what we tell other people to do. And and it's not that I usually even chivalry so much. I think it's peerage in general. But actually, if I have anything for the chivalry, and I don't want to piss off the Pelicans and Laurels and mods or anybody else, but I need you guys to understand. Actually, Order of Defense might actually understand this. I have always felt that the chivalry is the most honest peerage, and not honesty as in we tell the truth. And this is the stick jock perspective, so you got to kind of bear with us. Art is subjective. You can make something badass and I go, that sucks. Service is subjective. Well, he doesn't do enough work. If I beat your ass with a stick, then he's subjective. And if I do it cleanly and you got nothing to say, ain't subjective. And if I'm not a jerk, if I'm a good guy who looks the part, acts the part, and I can swing good stick, I'm a knight. It's just basic. Here's our level. We're the most open and honest. And we got a problem, like, and I've been in these circles. I don't know how it is in other kingdoms, except for maybe the Outlands, but I've been in other circles. But having seen the other circles from being a king, it's a different perspective. Because like knights, we'll be all like, want to go to the parking lot? We can handle this right now. We are straight out honest, and we'll tell you exactly what we mean. And a lot of times that gets us in trouble. So we have to learn how to temper that and not be the. But that's what we do well, though. Honestly, is you pretty much know if you're going to be a knight. If you really do it well, and you do it well, but you could be a great artist. You could bust your ass for years doing service, And one person can just go, nah, and you might never achieve that. But knighthood, it's kind of hard because you bruise that guy, he kind of shuts up about you in circle after a while.
Right.
It's.
Yeah, I always felt like it was weird that people tried to put the royal peerages on a different tier, like bestowed peerages and non-bestowed, because the royal peerages to me are the most honest, right? Like you do the thing, you get the thing, right? Like,
Absolutely.
So to me, like that's the one that you can't even be subjective about. They objectively earned it, right? Like.
So yeah, no, I have that. That's actually one of my things, and it's not. I need to preface this so you understand, because I talk these ways, and then people go, "Why did you say that?" Understand, this is not my belt. That was some dudes in a room were like, yeah, he's pretty cool. We should get him into the club. My leaves, I beat people's asses for those, and I earned those myself. Nobody gave me that. I took it. It was mine.
Right.
The belt, it was cool. I love it. My people thought I was cool enough to be part of this club, and that was awesome. But my leaves are what actually matters to me. If I was told that I had to resign all of my peers except for one, it would be a duchy, and I still wouldn't wear the coronet because I hate the damn thing. Uncomfortable chunk of metal on my head. But those leaves mean something to me because those are something I earned, that I truly earned.
No, I get that. That's cool. All right. I did want to talk. You have this whole thing you write about, like, if you're going for crown, this is how to prepare and stuff. And I wanted to talk about that. Do you mind if we go a little over and you talk about it?
No, I've got it. No, we're cool. I think I actually got a lot of it here. I don't know.
Okay.
But ask me questions. I look at this other screen. I'm like, I think I got some. All right.
Well, I just wondered how you came up with it, why you wrote it down. I think it has a lot of really good stuff in it.
So it was basically the concept that people would do all this stuff to train for crown, and it was good fighters that I was watching, really, really good fighters who did all this stuff, and they trained for crown. So to back up a little bit, there's a saying about me. I suck in class, but I test well.
Oh, okay.
You go to fighter practice, you will beat my ass. I don't care if you're brand new or not, because it's not even that I don't care, because there's nothing that I'm really trying for, and I'm just there to work on stuff.
Right.
And I don't care if you beat me. So and then people will fight me in crown, and they go, what the hell just happened? I'm like, Wednesday night doesn't matter. This matters. And so crown is like 90% mental. 90%. You can, and it's like I would go through these rituals, and I would make sticks. Like it would take me like a whole 8 hours to make a stick. It was almost like making a magical weapon. Like I would do all this stuff, and then I would really put myself in the mood, and I would just psych myself up and get myself going, no, this is mine. This is mine. This is mine. You're not taking this from me. I will win. And the only times that I was really trying that I didn't win were the times that I didn't do that. But I have to say, and luck is for losers, and it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And they always, people will do that thing where they go, well, anybody on any given day can win crown. BS. The only way that's going to happen is literally every person who's trained for crown, like, all get food poisoning and fly off of a cliff at the same time in the bus that they're in. Like, they're driving in the bus, and it's like, the O'Doyle rules and the banana peel, and the bus flies off the cliff. You know what I'm talking about. If every person who's been training for crown flies off the cliff, then anybody else can win. And that's the truth. And it sounds harsh, but it's the truth. It's the person who actually trains and puts themselves in the mental position to actually do it. And it's hard. And it's taxing though. It will screw your head up, because you will start. You have to remind yourself this is just a phase that you're putting yourself into, and not something that you ever want to hang around in your brain. And it's just so before I even put my armor into the truck, I was always doing all of my opponents are already dead. I'm just doing a formality. This is a stepping stone. I've already won this. This is already mine. And I would do that, and people would go, "Oh my God, why is he so angry?" And then after the tournament, they're like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're like, "Dude, you were pissed at me this morning." No, I wasn't. I just wasn't talking.
Right.
So but there's this thing. It's like also like they hear about the big bad Duke who's going to be fighting in Crown, and they get all worried. The big bad Duke can be beaten too, especially if he hasn't been training. I'm living proof. I'm a big bad Duke who's had my ass kicked many times. I've walked in that tourney field being all, psh, psh. Well, shit, I'm not that good, because, and it's not because I was a good fighter or I was a bad fighter. It's because I wasn't mentally prepared to actually do it. Because it wasn't in my head. I didn't have my head set on it. I didn't have my heart set into it. I didn't actually want to win that tournament deep down inside. Because if I wanted it, I would have actually trained for it. I would have actually put in all the work that needed to be done. Now, like I've said before, my training that I do is, kind of stupid and extreme when I get like into something like I'll quit a job to fight in Crown out of the crowd. That's why I don't do that anymore, because I like to pay my mortgage. I like my AC. I like paying my electric bill. I like, it is a fact that I've never been, the first rain I was employed. I've never been employed during a rain. And it's never because I quit my job. It's all because like some weird stuff happened, like restructuring of the company. I've never been fired or quit my job. It was just like restructuring of the company or weird crap where like I get laid off and I'm like, well, screw it. I'm not going to get a job until after King. My job is now being King. And so then that takes a toll on you because you become the 8-hour day King. So,
Well, cool. Anyway, I appreciated you writing all that down. I thought it was awesome.
I found it. I can actually send it to you if you want it.
I think I am one of these obsessive people that I see something and I print it out and I put it in my 3-ring binder. So I am sure it's in my 3-ring. I love binder like this thick. So
and see I'm actually looking at this, and a lot of times I forget that it's here, and I just found it now. I think I was talking about. Was it rope-a-dope that I was talking about? I don't even. Do you remember what it was that you were thinking about me talking about? Because I have it all here. I just got to remember.
Oh, I don't remember. You had this whole long thing, like the 10 things. I think part of it was luck is for losers, and like
luck is for losers.
Yeah,
luck is totally for losers. And I have a huge set of rules. Yes. There's rules. There's Areus' rules. Most of those are just bullshit. It's me talking smack just to like get. I'm poking the bear. I like to screw with people, But I mean, a lot of them are rule number 1, always have a knife. And all those rules were actually made for my squires when I had them. That was rule number 1. So I'd be like, rule 1, and they'd be like, "Where's yours?" I'm like, "I'm the knight. I don't have to have a knife. Give me your knife." Because I've had a pocket knife in my pocket since I was 10. But sometimes I don't have it. So my rule was all the squires had to have one also, so that I could have a knife. And Valora is literally the only one who always. She was the good squire. She was the one who always followed that rule.
Of course she was.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's look at your stick.
Okay. All right. So I mined the kyber crystals myself, but
yay! That's awesome.
Okay. Nikita told me I had to do that, so anyway.
Thank you, Nikita. That was awesome.
All right, so my sticks are always, and this is part of one of my things about fighting, and it's it's force equals mass times acceleration. So there's guys with big heavy sticks that will hit you really hard. I can throw a really light stick very, 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 very fast and hit you just as hard. So I use light sticks. My sticks are very light, and I used to use before I found skinned rattan. I used to buy I would get like 1.125" and tape it up to 1.25". I would find them just barely under. So like the tape made it legal. So I do. Now I use skin rattan. I use straight out skin rattan. This is the stick I made for Estrella. I don't thrusting tip very much. Sometimes I have them, but I find they confuse the crap out of me. I'll be fighting and I'll go, oh, I should use this thing. Why did I do that? It's too much for my brain. My brain does this, not this. Doesn't work like that. When I take my sticks, I do one layer. I use 2-inch strapping tape and 2-inch gaff tape. I do one layer of strap up, around, and fold it over so that no pieces fall off. One layer of gaff tape up, around, and then that's it. And then I tape my baskets on with I use the strapping tape, kind of like what Duke Thorford was talking about the other night. I basically put it. I don't know how you tape it right here. I'll basically put it right. I'll put a length right here, and if you hold the roll of tape, will this show up on the green screen? No, it won't because it's green. That's kind of cool. If you hold the roll of tape just like this, and you go like this and hold your hand in this motion, the tape will automatically make a rope. And so you just go like this, and I wrap my sticks up like that. I've gotten away from plastic hilts. I don't want to purchase them. I have a bunch, and I still use them. But I think it's from Darkwood Armory, and I think these are the same ones that Helga and Hans, a couple people use it. But it's spring steel, and it's lighter. It's actually lighter than the plastic hilt. I use. Sometimes I have a trigger. I had a really bad motorcycle accident in 2016, and I thought I wasn't going to be able to fight anymore for over a year. Like I didn't think I was ever going to swing a stick. I slowly got back into it, and one of the things I realized was my trigger would pull. This hand's like all messed up, so my trigger would pull on this and would cause like nerve shooting pains. And so I got rid of my trigger and I just went to a grip. But so I started doing this. Oh yeah, you can see it. So tennis racket grip. Mineko turned me on to the tennis racket grip, and since then I've never actually had to use a trigger anymore. But these spring steel hilts are dope. They're really nice.
How long is your sword?
36 exactly.
36 exactly.
Yep.
Cool.
I measure them all 36. I used to do a lot of crazy. It's funny. I was watching Thorfinn the other night. I'm like, you're saying exactly what I'm saying. He's like, I used to do a lot of crazy nubs and like ridges, and I do all kinds of stuff. Because I'd make my handles with a drill tool, and I'd be like, oh yeah, it's perfect. And then I realized I'm like, that really doesn't do anything except for just take time on making the stick. So, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's do the final 10.
Okay.
If you could fight anyone in the world, who would it be?
Does it have to be like me? So I want to do that.
Cool. Who would you like to see reign in your kingdom?
Zipser and Mineko. honestly, that was the one I always wanted, was Zipser and Mineko, and I finally got it. So you're not getting out of this. We're doing this.
You're gonna step up eventually.
If we have to wait for 5 years, I'm gonna see you as king. So they were my big ones, Zipser and Mineko.
Cool. If you could talk stick with anyone in the world for an hour, who would it be?
Duke Adamar from Meridies.
I get to talk to him in a couple weeks.
He's awesome. He's one of my boys. We trained him. When he was 18, Trelawn sent him to Atenveldt and says, go learn, because that was when Trelawn lived in Meridies. He said, go learn. So Adamar came out for like a summer and just couch hopped and hung out, and we like really got him good and sent him back to Meridies. And that's when he really started moving. But I love talking. I can talk stick with Adamar for like hours. We just sit and it's a relaxing talk, and it's not like a lot of people get way technical, and I'm just like, I can't reading too much into this. And we meet Adam, just like, so I beat this one dude up. We're like, yeah. Like, we don't really, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What is your favorite medieval-esque or period movie?
Medieval-esque or period movie?
Period. It doesn't have to be.
Period?
Yeah. It can be fantasy.
That's a toss-up. Troy or Excalibur.
Okay.
If I had to go with one, it would be Excalibur because I remember like watching it on HBO when it came out, like 1980, and it was on HBO. And I'm, hey, there's naked people, and it was. But I remember like that was when I made. I got an old chunk of a bicycle, and I actually pounded it down with a hammer and made a sword that I could go chopping the trees with. And then my next door neighbor had a welder, and he took the handle off of a trash can and welded it on the inside for me. So I had and painted it. And I had a shield, and I had like this bicycle's nasty steel. I don't know how we got away with the crap we did when we were children, but yeah, like any parent now would be like, "Oh my god!" My mom's all, "Oh look, you made a sword."
We were unsupervised latchkey kids.
Yeah, exactly.
If you could add a rule.
Oh yeah, Excalibur.
Okay. If you could add a rule to the rules of the list, what would it be?
I would not add a rule to the rules of the list. I would remove a bunch of the rules from the rules of the list, but I don't think I would add any. I would remove.
Cool.
Anything.
What is your favorite tournament format?
Double elimination, single fight.
Classic.
Double elimination, single fight, classic. We do a lot of best out of 3 in Atenveldt. For crowns, we've been doing it for several years. I actually hate it. But because all it does is wear me out, because if I can beat you once, I can beat you twice. And I don't want to do it twice. It's kind of, it's late. It is straight up laziness. And we kind of got it from the Outlands when we started doing this because the Outlands. But I was like, guys, we have 50 people in our crown tournament. Outlands had 6. That's why they do double elimination and 3 best out of 3. Like they had time to do it. They're like, Crown and the Outlands. I remember we went to Crown and the Outlands one time. It was over by like lunch. Like Crown was over and we had lunch. Like we could 2 out of 3 sucks, but it's still fun. It's just not my preference. I have single elimination or single fight double elimination.
Perfect. What's your favorite event?
Australia. But out of Kingdom, but that's an obvious, so I won't even use that one. Now it's Great Western. I'd say back 10, 15 years ago, it was Potrero. Potrero was my favorite my favorite event, period. But Australia is probably my favorite, and then Great Western for out of Kingdom.
Cool. If you could have any helmet in the world, regardless of cost, what kind would it be? Who would make it?
Well, it would be attached to an Iron Man suit, and Tony Stark would make it.
Cool.
Or if it was regardless of cost, I would have a really awesome shop at that point. It would be made by me, and I don't know, it'd be something really crazy cool.
Excellent. All right, it's Saturday morning at Estrella, and several people want to talk to you about last night. What did you do?
Most likely, they're telling me all the shit happened that went before when I was like in bed, because I am Irish, and I am the Irish goodbye king. I'm just all like I'll be like, hey, turn around real quick. I will disappear. If you stop talking to me for like a second and a half, I will be in my tent. Done. Because I'm waiting to fight the next day. I'm all,
great.
Well, they stop being drunk so I can fight. I just want to hit them.
All right. Who's your favorite fight ever?
Favorite fight ever. That's a tough one. I would actually have to say my favorite, the people I fought, my favorite fight ever is Craven. And that's because me and Craven, or Edward, but probably Craven. Me and Craven have had some we have these epic battles where we're both like swinging. And it's because I learned how to fight a lot from Craven when I was a squire. So he's lefty and I'm righty, but I would mirror exactly what he was doing and I would do it on him. And so I would get into these fights in Crown when me and Craven would have our Crown fights. We'd have these like just epic, just 1,000 shot combos and just all this blocking, and then we'd step back and people like, what the hell just happened? We're like, we don't know. Craven, of the people I like fight, Craven is probably my favorite fight, period.
He is super fun to watch. So, all right. And the bonus question is, who is the cleanest fighter in your kingdom?
Me.
You?
No, I am the lightest person in the kingdom, but not probably the cleanest. I guarantee I've blown stuff off. And like I said, everybody does. But consistently, should I probably have to say Craven again? Because I've never actually had a problem. Yeah, I'd have to say Craven.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for giving me your time and agreeing to do this with me. It was super fun.
I had a blast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks everybody for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and I think Wednesday, my sister and I are going to talk to Duke Aaron Graves, also of Atenveldt.
Yes, one of my heroes, the first lefty I ever fought when he was king, and it was painful, but he was very nice to me.
So that should be super fun too. He's also a very talented artist. So see you Wednesday. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Right, bye-bye.